Islam, and greetings. Princeanaelbey, Divine Prince of the Divine Theocracy and Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America through Temple Alhambra. If you wish to have a print of the greatest crime never investigated, the PayPal information will be in the description box. And this is more relative to you than that picture of Cesare Borgia hanging on Granny's wall. The price is $20, and again, the PayPal account is in the description box. Continuing with marriage. While change is the only constant in the universe, one thing about change, and people have never known this, one of the aspects of change is how change comes about. And because people don't know how to enter into, maintain, or hold relationships, these are degrees they simply do not have. Now, change, it is essential. The one thing about this, the one aspect of change which people have no idea about, again, is how change comes about. Well, I will tell you how change comes about. Because change is constant, and it is most undesirable for change to be commanded or demanded of someone. This is why relationships that are fraught with such scenes and events that stem from that sort of thinking is the reason that the only change that takes place are the changes that are negative in nature. They are negative changes. And that is not what one wants out of a mate. Even the Bible tells you that. For you Moriscos, even the Bible tells you better for a man to sleep on the roof than to live in the house, with an evil woman. However, change must be inspired. That is where positive change in an individual comes from. When change is inspired, the change is brought about by love, check that, by living that individual and respecting them enough to recognize that the change that they are inspiring in you are changes for the better. But when you are in a relationship and you cling to those selfish thoughts and ways, again, you will not recognize love and care from another. Which is why I told you in another video, you wouldn't know what love was if it walked right up to you, because you've never seen it before. And so you will not recognize it. And this is no more evident than in scenarios such as this. Because you don't know what it is, you don't know how to react to it. And because it is alien to you, your first reflex response is to fight against it, is to fight it. It is the first place you go. Because this is what you know. But change should be inspired. If you respect that individual enough to continue to demonstrate your best, and that individual inspires you to be your best, well, not only is that a keeper, you have just learned another degree and what it will take in order for you to reach your highest heights. You want what's good and positive for you. And when this individual inspires a change in you that will assist you in getting there, what is there not to like about that? What is there not to love about a relationship like that? It is a part of building together. It is a part of building together. You build your lives based on one another. Your energy flows off of one another. You are in sync. You live for each other. Hence, living that individual. But change must be inspired. And inspired change is most definitely positive change. Can't get away from it. You simply cannot get away from it. And inspired change is a loving change. It is a change inspired by love. And if that is truly what you want, you're well on your way to understanding what you are looking for when you say you are looking for love. You must first recognize its traits. You must first recognize its traits. And if you have no idea, no concept of what its traits is, you will forever be a stranger to it. When an individual strikes you to the point where you are inspired by them, yeah, that's a keeper. That's a keeper. That's someone you can build with. When you trust each other and you rely only on one another, you are building together. You are building something, because the trials and the tribulations and the hard times and the bad times and the sad times that you endured together is what has you still here together today. And it is based on mutual everything. It's not commanded or demanded. I demand that you... No. You absolutely positively cannot do that and expect for that harvest to yield anything positive or nutritional to any endeavor that you attempt to employ. It's just not happening. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Therefore, for you children, you child adults, it'll be up to you to determine the next course this thing takes. You already know that you're so jacked up and messed up you don't know what a relationship is. It'll be up to you to find an alternative to traditional marriage if you want to be right about anything, especially about yourself. But in order for you to be right with yourself, you have got to be able to face the truth of yourself. You have got to be able to look into that mirror and see what looks back at you and still be able to stand there without running off, crying, and screaming into the distance. You're going to have to be able to sit there and look at that and come to grips with what you truly are. Because yes, in order for what you want or what you claim you want to enter in the garbage that you have in you, you're going to have to throw it out to make the space for what you claim you want. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do that. And if no one inspires you to do that willingly, because you are inspired to do so, they touch you in such a way that you don't even miss. You don't even know you're giving up something, because you're not giving up anything. You're adding to yourself if you're doing anything. You're not giving up anything. You are adding to you. And this individual is adding to you. But today, in modern times, and the feud that has been fomented between male and females here in America and across the world, it is partially among the reasons why child adults should never even contemplate marriage. It is not going to be healthy for them because they themselves are not healthy psychologically. They are not psychologically healthy enough for such a venture. And marriage is just that. It's a venture. It's a business venture. And unless you bring enough chips to the table to play in a game you know nothing about, my advice would be to stay away, because you don't know what you're doing when you sit down at that table and you get dealt your cards. When you don't know how to play them, your chips will be in the center of the table or going to a winner, and you will get up a bitter and broken individual, feeling worse about yourself than you did when you summoned up the courage to sit down at that table and bring your chips with you. This is why marriage is not something that child adults should contemplate. Another reason that child adults should not contemplate marriage is because they have what's called a transient mentality. And a transient mentality is a mentality whereby it is easily distracted by the new, the bright, and the shiny. That's a transient mentality. It is nearly impossible for them to view the world any other way than in a very myopic way, which is 90 degrees. And their mentality, because it has been so reshaped, check that, their psychology. Their psychology has been so reshaped that child adults, they truly don't know up from down and down from up. It is what someone tells them, because they are barely functional illiterates. They are barely functional illiterates, which is part of the plan for the future of America through the war that is being waged upon it by the United States. Young people, again, it's going to be up to you to find or create an alternative to traditional marriage. If the remnants of your ancestors and their need to procreate under Roman law, etc., if that is still any part of your nature, then you'd better find a way to create its alternative. Because marriage means nothing anymore. In these modern days, it means nothing. And it is not something that I would advise for anyone, especially the child adults. And child adults are those from the age of 18 to 47. Those are child adults. You count the generations that it took for them to degenerate to that state psychologically. And you think there's no war against you. They're using what's called silent weapons for silent wars. And that, too, is a reason that child adults should not get married. Aside from what I'm about to demonstrate to you, I informed you that I was a master scientist. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring out your lower selves. I'm going to do it through this video. And again, there's no magic involved here. I'm going, and of course, man has two selves, a higher self and a lower self. The higher self is the mother of the virtues. The lower self, his name is Satan. Yes, Satan is within you. Despite what the church would have you believe, it is not some omnipotent singular being that rides across the world like Santa Claus. At any rate, we will get into that in another session. But I'm going to bring forth Satan's legion. I want you to pay attention. There was this young couple, newlywed, very much in love. They both had careers, and they had a, nice little life. Young people, nice little life. And after about, I don't know, few months down the road, well, the young husband, he began to notice that, looking around and doing a little cogitating, they both worked, and he looked around and saw, that his wife wasn't handling all of her wifely duties, he thought. So he figured he'd go get her some help. And so he was on vacation this week, and she, of course, still had to work. And so he walked her to the door, gave her a kiss on the cheek, saw her get in her car and drive off. Well, he goes upstairs, throws on some clothes, and he's out the door too. He's in his car. And he travels down to, that part of town where you buy and sell things, And he pulls over to the curb, and he looks out the passenger side window, sees what he wants. So he gets out, goes, gets this second-hand thing, and opens up the passenger door, the passenger side door, put this cheap thing in it. He goes home, and he takes this thing upstairs. They didn't even make it to the bedroom. They on the hallway carpet upstairs leading to the bedroom. Didn't even make it to the bedroom. They started there. Then they make it to the bedroom, and then they just having such a time of it, they just lost all track of time. They wound up on the couch in the living room downstairs. That's where they wound up. And, he was so into it, and there on the couch, he didn't hear her when she came in the door. They were making so much noise. He didn't hear her. And the only way he knew that she was there was him and this thing working out on the couch. The only way he knew she was there was when she tapped him on the shoulder. And when she tapped him on the shoulder, he looked up in surprise. And he just said to her, "Surprise. Surprise, honey." Now, what would you do if you walked in on that scene? What would you do? Come on, be honest. Oh, you can't help but be honest, because Satan doesn't lie. He's a trickster, but he doesn't lie. Come on, what would you do? You walk in, ladies, you walk in on a scene like that. Or men, the situation's reversed. You walk in and she making so much noise on that sofa, and the only time she know you in the room is when you tap her on the shoulder. And she turns around and says, "Surprise." What would you do? What would you do? I've heard answers such as, "If I just make it upstairs to that thing." I have heard, "Well, neither one of them would make it out the house." I have heard, "I'll let her go because my beef is with him." That's what I've heard. And what would you do in that scenario? Well, of course you would. And then my question would be, why would you do all of that when all he was doing was vacuuming? She wasn't doing all her wifely duties because he understood that she worked and she was tired too, and the house needed picking up a little bit, needed vacuuming. So he went out and got a second-hand vacuum cleaner and came home to help his wife out with the housework. He was on vacation all week. Now, what were you thinking? See, that's Satan. I brought Satan out of you. Hello, Satan. It's the first place your devilish mind went, to infidelity. It's the first place you went to, because that is what you know. That is what you know. And this is another reason marriage is not something that one should engage in the dawn of the age of Aquarius. It just isn't. And for those of you who know the term and are familiar with the words, you are the ones who should begin attempting to find an alternative to it. Because, as you can see, it's not working anymore. And as you have just proven, there is no trust. There's nothing to build with. You don't build on trust, you build with trust. You build on life. You build on living that individual. The blocks you use, it's trust. The block you use is trust. And so, having given you these very important degrees on spending one's life with another human, this is not something that should be delved into lightly. Because remember, expectations lead to disappointments. And you are only disappointed because of your expectations. You don't go into a marriage with expectations. If you must, no, I'm not even going to say that. You don't go into a marriage with expectations unless there is a firm commitment to certain expectations that are voiced and discussed before entering into it. Don't bring your detonators with you. Expectations lead to disappointments, and the only thing that you should expect when relating to other humans is for people to be people. That is all you can expect. And knowing this, having this understanding, coming out of the gate, nothing that they do or say should ever surprise you. And you cannot, because you do not have the moral authority or the right to blame people for being who they are. You can simply elect to be in their orbit, or you can elect to depart from them. These are your choices. But don't choose marriage. It is not for the child adults of today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I hope I've cleared some things up for you. The print of The Greatest Crime Never Investigated, the information found in the description box. Peace and love, everybody.